Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So I missed last week, so we're going to be doing a bit of catching up, but overall the trends are still, kind of relative week to week. So when we're looking at sales last week in Halton Hills, we were only at 5, which is not a huge surprise given it was March break. The week prior to that we had 10. So things are moving. We have quite a few properties in the sold conditional status, but overall our sales are not as high as they would normally be, unfortunately. So only 5 sales reported last week is technically low, but given where the market is and March break, it's not a massive surprise. The bad news is that there was 17 new properties that listed last week. So we are seeing a lot of inventory hitting the market, and that is never a good thing if our sales are not sort of meeting our inventory levels. It's kind of a recipe for skyrocketing inventory and prices softening. But there is sort of a piece of good news, which I'll get to later. Acton this week had 1 sale and 4 new listings, so inventory is climbing in Acton as well. Glen Williams had no sales and 1 new listing, and the rural market saw 1 sale and 3 new listings. I'm also going to note, before I get to the rural numbers, our internal program system, they are doing a bunch of changes. You might remember back in November, December, it was just an absolute disaster. And they've sort of made some changes that are impacting our numbers in a weird way. They've changed the boundaries. So yeah, just some annoying things happening when it comes to my numbers, but I'll touch on that in a bit. So the piece of good news that I sort of wanted to talk about is we are starting to see properties exit the market again. Fundamentally, this is not our typical March. It wasn't our typical February, and it's not a super great time to sell. People are not getting the results that they were hoping for. So we are starting to see properties exit the market, which is a bit of a surprise to me, but that's what's happening right now. So the thing that kept our inventory at bay this week is that there was 8 properties that exited the market, and that's quite a high number for March. We're used to seeing maybe 1, 2, 8 is a lot. It's showing that sellers are not getting what they need, and so they're taking their houses off. The other thing that we saw 10 properties relist at a lower price, 2 relisted at the same price to just freshen up the listing, and 1 property attempted an offer night, did not work out, so they have raised the price on their house. So the market's just not super great. Definitely not seeing a lot of bidding wars. And the offer night, unless you are dramatically underlisting your property, is not really panning out. And we are going to start to see, I think, more properties relisting higher after they don't have success on offer night. So there's a lot happening for this time of year in terms of relists, exits, playing with bidding wars that we would not be normally seeing right now. Normally our market would be very busy. We'd be comfortably sitting into a bidding war territory, and results would be favorable for the sellers, and the market's just not really there right now. The other note is, of the 7 properties that sold last week, 4 of them were under $1 million. So the majority was under $1 million, so that price point seems to be picking up a bit. The same was the story for the week before, because basically the last few months we've been seeing a lot more of the $1 million plus selling than our lower price point, but that shifted the last few weeks. So hopefully our lower price point buyers, especially with the interest rate announcement, are going to start entering the market and feeling a little more confident to come back, because it was just it's been a really kind of weird last 6 weeks. So watching what happens, but it's not great news for sellers at the moment. So looking at active inventory, all of Halton Hills is up from a couple weeks ago, 162. We're up to 175 active listings. This is a lot. We're getting very close to that 200 mark, which we do not want to see, because our market really stalls when we're hitting inventory levels that high. When we're looking at our markets within Halton Hills, Georgetown is down at 99 active listings this week. And again, the only thing that saved that is the majority of the properties that exited the market were in Georgetown. So 99 active listings, and it's just it's climbing for sure. And now we're starting to see a shift in our higher price. If we start to see the shift in the higher price points not selling, we're going to fall back into a trend that we were in last year. So looking at our price points, under 800,000 actually is down from 13 active listings to 9. So that's supporting sort of what we've been seeing in the sales, and it just doesn't feel super saturated down there right now. So that is good news. 800 to $1 million is up slightly from 21 to 22 active listings. Still sitting higher than we would like to see in that pocket. Stuff is still not flying off the shelf. There's a ton of like townhomes, freehold townhomes available, which we don't always see a huge selection of those, but we've got a lot right now. And there's some pretty good properties actually between 800 and $1 million, but it's just not, the market's just not hot. 1 to 1.5 million is up from 35 to 38 active listings. This is our price point that as it climbs, it can just become very, very dead. So not super great news, especially if you're over that one, between the 125 and 1.5 is definitely moving a lot slower than the bottom half of the price point, but still just things might be slowing down based on what we've been seeing the last few weeks for our $1 million plus properties. And then 1.5 million plus is down from 31 to 30 active listings, but there's still a ton of stuff available there. And now looking at our other markets, Acton is up to 15 active listings this week. That's a big jump from like, a month ago. It's almost double. So we're definitely starting to see things climb in Acton. Still majority of the stuff is a higher price point. So, and by higher in Acton, that's like 900 and over. So it's not moving as rapidly, but they're still getting some sales here and there. And inventory, we were over 30 at one point in Acton, so it's still sitting okay there. Glen Williams is up to 8 active listings this week, sitting very high in the Glen. In the rural market is where we saw a big shift this week, but this has to do, I think, with the boundary changes that the internal system did. Again, if you can't tell, I don't like change, and these system changes and everything that they're doing is driving me kind of crazy. So we're up from 44 rural listings to 52. It's a very high number for the rural market. A lot of those properties are very expensive, like 2.5 million plus. And so it's just, if you are a rural seller, it is very difficult to be moving your property right now with all the competition you have and with where price points sort of are still sitting with those properties. So overall, I mean, the good news is with properties exiting the market, it helps to keep things at bay in terms of inventory skyrocketing. But when we look at just the new listings themselves and taking away that some people are exiting, we have a huge gap between how many properties we're seeing hit the market and how many properties are selling. And if this just continues, it's certainly going to be a shift from our norm for the next few months. I do think there's a lot of these external factors and uneasiness that is causing our market to sort of be calmer on the buyer side. So hopefully over the course of the next few months, like those things work themselves out and we can get buyer confidence back, because interest rates are actually at a really good place compared to where they've been the last few years. And so we really just need to see that buyer activity pick up. There's a lot of really nice properties, and I do think once everything with the political side of things starts to even out, I think our buyer demand is going to skyrocket again. So I do think the properties that are on right now, you can get a decent deal on. We're just not following our normal trends. January, we thought we were going to, and then things just completely flipped. So not a great time to be a seller right now, but if you're a first-time buyer especially, there's a lot of great stuff to be looking at. So we will continue to see what happens, see where our March numbers pan out. We'll certainly be down from last year. So not a great update, but like not the worst update. And like I said, lots of stuff in the sold conditional status, so maybe it's just a blip sort of in that March break, and hopefully we can see more sales reported next week. So I will be back next week. Have a great week, everyone.